AAA Race Show. I am your host, Austin Aziz, Wheelman for Hire, coming to you from the Static Studio with my co-host here, Jimmy, and we are coming to you for our first show after the NASCAR season ended, and we got some Formula One to talk about, and we still got some NASCAR news to go over. I'm excited for this show, so let's go ahead and get started with Formula One in Brazil. Finally, Max Verstappen does not win, and the person that goes to victory lane is George Russell for Mercedes. Mercedes getting their first win of the season. If they would not have won this week or the next week, it would have been the first time since 1952 Mercedes has not won in a season. They actually get to go 1-2 as Lewis Hamilton comes in second. And Lewis Hamilton still looking for that first win of the season. He has always won a Formula One Grand Prix every year that he's run in Formula One. So could this be the first year? I hope it's not, but we'll have to stick around and see how it all plays out next week. It was a very exciting Formula One race, everyone racing super hard. But before we get done with Formula One here, I want to talk about one more thing, and well, you'll see. Dang, that's a doozy. Dang, that's a doozy is brought to you by D&D Welding and Fabrication out of Buffalo, Missouri. If it's made out of metal, you need it made out of metal. D&D are the guys to go to. D&D Welding and Fabrication are located in Buffalo, Missouri, and can take care of all your metalworking needs in a jiffy. This week's Dang, That's a Doozy comes with the Formula One race where Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen get into it. Charles Leclerc gets the worst, getting tagged in the right rear, spins around and hits the wall head on. There, as you can see there on the screen. Now, I really don't know how we did not get a safety car for this because, well, Charles Leclerc looked like he hit the wall pretty hard. But we ended up not getting a safety car. Charles Leclerc pulled it out, and he was able to come back and get a fourth place finish. So Charles Leclerc overcoming the Dang That's a Doozy this week for still a good points day. Let's move on to another topic involving our co-host here, Jimmy Johnson, who is now a co-owner of Petty GMS. Now, this news is kind of old news. We should have talked about it last week, but I decided not to because all the championship stuff is going on, and I really wanted to focus on that because that was a real big deal. So we're going to talk about it this week. Now, Jimmy Johnson will be coming back to NASCAR as a owner and a part-time driver. He's going to be racing about 8 to 10 races this next season, 2023, and they will be bringing on Noah Gragson to race for Petty GMS Johnson, is what I'm going to call it. So, Jimmy coming back after his IndyCar, couple years over there in IndyCar, he's going to be coming back to NASCAR to run some races, but how does he know which races to pick? Obviously, he's not going to have a charter, so he's going to have to qualify for these races. I'm going to start out with, obviously, the Daytona 500. The biggest race of the season. Jimmy Johnson has to race the Daytona 500. That's a must. So, he doesn't always have the best luck there, but he does have 2 wins. So, we'll see if Jimmy can get a third victory at Daytona. And then we also have the Clash at the Coliseum. Now, the Clash at the Coliseum is a really cool race. And since Jimmy's going to be in NASCAR next year, might as well add that race to the calendar because that's a really cool one. And you're not going to probably be able to do that again. And we may not do it next year. So this may be a one-time shot for Jimmy. And then we have Dover, which is a great track for Jimmy. Martinsville, another great track for Jimmy. We also have the Chicago Street Course, which, like the Coliseum, since we're going to be there and it's a new thing, he needs to do that because that's going to be really cool and a really interesting event. Plus, Jimmy, you've had so much time in IndyCar. How do you think that your IndyCar experiences will probably pay off at somewhere like the Chicago Street Course? Okay, well, anyways, that should pay off for Jimmy like he's just said there. And to finish it out, we have the Coca-Cola 600, one of Jimmy's best tracks in the NASCAR circuit. So those are a couple tracks I think Jimmy should definitely put on his calendar for once he wants to attend. Now, our next bit of news here is also about Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson is NASCAR, my bad, will be having their 75th anniversary and will be celebrating it at the Rose Parade. So they're going to be making a float. It's a Thanksgiving Day parade. It's all this great stuff, and we're going to have a float. Well, we decided to put 3 cars on the float: Richard Petty, Dale Earnhardt Sr., and Jeff Gordon. Now, where this is, everyone's questioning is, why did we have 2 7-time champions on the float and then a 4-time champion? They're not putting Jimmy Johnson on this, and he has won 7 championships, a lot of wins. And this is a really bad look for NASCAR. I think that Jimmy Johnson is probably the best NASCAR driver to ever drive in NASCAR, just because his championships were harder to win. His races were harder to win. The competition was better. There weren't as many races in the season. They kept changing the rules. He won 5 in a row, the most in NASCAR ever. The closest is 3. And Jimmy Johnson also has 7 championships, and he's going to be racing in NASCAR again next year. So I don't really know why they decided to not let Jimmy on there and put Jeff Gordon on there, who I think is a great race car driver and an iconic name for the sport, but not like Jimmy Johnson, who you put the other 2-time champion, 7-time champions on there. You don't put Jimmy. That's a real bad look for NASCAR. So I don't like what they're doing there. I also heard a lot of people who also don't like what they're doing there, but either way, NASCAR is going to be celebrating their 75th anniversary for the Rose Parade on Thanksgiving. Well, since we have one more big race or series race for Formula One before all of our series will have been concluded, we have a What's on the Menu by Big Easy. Now, Big Easy Grill is my favorite place to eat in Springfield. Big Easy Grill is on East Sunshine at 417-832-0040. It's Cajun food. It is absolutely delicious. I mean, this stuff is some of the greatest food you can get in Springfield. We love coming there. There's so many things on the menu, though. There's such a variety of food. I know we've mentioned a couple things that we love to get at Big Easy, but we're going to mention another one, and that is this seafood gumbo. Now, the seafood gumbo comes with sausage, chicken, and shrimp, and it's cooked with traditional New Orleans gumbo sauce. It is delicious stuff. I loved getting this here. I always like to change it up what I get to try everything, because I mean, you start going on something and you see something else on the menu, you decide to order that, and that becomes your new favorite. So you really can't stay on one thing. You really have to just bounce around to taste everything, because it always is so good there at Big Easy. So make sure you head on down to Big Easy Grill in Springfield, Missouri on Sunshine, and tell them that the Austin Aziz from the AAA Race Show sent you down there, and order you some seafood gumbo and tell me how it tastes, because it is amazing. Well, now that we got that done, let's move on to my favorite part of the show, and that's right, folks, it's time for Austin's Absolute, where I look into the future. This week on Austin's Absolute, I will look into the future of the Abu Dhabi race for Formula One. Let me look into the future. I have it. Lewis Hamilton will get his first race win of the season at Abu Dhabi, the last race of the season for Formula One. And that was Austin's Absolute. Well, surprise, surprise, that I picked Lewis Hamilton to go to victory lane this week, because pretty sure for like the last 4 Formula One races, that's who I picked to go to victory lane. But I think it's inevitable that Lewis Hamilton will go to victory lane, because he's always won a Formula One race every season he's been in Formula One. So that's who I think is going to win next week, and I think Mercedes can get their second victory of the season. Well, That's right, folks. It's time to get excited. Get Excited is brought to you by Top Limb Tree Service. If you need a trim, call up Top Limb at 417-880-7867. Toby, Cheryl, and the crew will come out to your house and take care of all your tree trimming needs. So if you need a trim, call up Top Limb. And this week, folks, for our big races, we have Abu Dhabi. For Formula One, the last race of the season, we'll be crowning Max Verstappen our champion there. And for our local races, we have the Turkey Bowl Test and Tune, which I want to get to in a minute. Plus, Emma Indoor Raceway will be having their second race of the season, which I got to go up to last week. Had a blast. Super nice track. Had a lot of fun battling it out with Hoyt Miller there on the last lap. But Emma Raceway is a really cool indoor raceway is a really cool track, and love to be back. We also have Bolivar Speedway. We'll be having regular racing. And as always, make sure you head on over to ORPTV, where Mr. Craig Stagner will tell you all you need to know about all the races coming up next week, birthdays, and a weather forecast. ORPTV has it all. So make sure you check out ORPTV on Facebook on Wednesdays and Sundays at 6 p.m. Now, getting to Springfield Raceway. Springfield Raceway is going to be making a decision about whether they're going to be postponing their event or they're going to go ahead and run it on schedule. Now, this would be because of the cold. They made a Facebook post today that they will make the announcement on Tuesday, which for me, that's tomorrow. But whenever you see this, who knows if the post may have already been made. So make sure you go and check out Springfield Raceway's Facebook page on Tuesday to see whether we'll be postponing this event or whether we will be running it on schedule. And I think that about does it this week. I think that about does it for us this week, folks. And next week we'll have our last race to talk about, and then we'll have to figure something out. But I'm sure we will. It's been a lot of fun this season. So, thank you everyone for your support. Please make sure to like, subscribe, turn on the notification bell. And I'm Austin Aziz, Wheelman for Hire, come to you from the Stag Studio with my co-host here, Jimmy. And remember, folks, this show is brought to you by whatever Mom's making for dinner. Have a great rest of your week.
If I gotta drive over the fool in front of me, man, to win, that's just racing.